So ever since you all found out that I have 65 plants and counting, I've been getting some questions. One of the top questions that I have received is how do I water them all? How do I keep track? And, what is my watering schedule? So I thought I would share that today. I've got just a couple tips. So the first tip that I have is kind of, it's cheating maybe in a way. I actually pick really easy plants for the most part. So pothos, philodendron, snake plant, those are just 3 that are super duper easy. And if you forget to water them, they're very forgiving. You can go a couple weeks to 4 weeks with those plants. And if you find that you forgot to water and they're getting super dry, usually, like the worst that I've had happen is a couple leaves will turn yellow. And again, I can go up to a month without having to water them. I live in an area that has a mix of humidity and dryness. So sometimes we get a lot of rainy days, and that will of course add humidity to the air, but we also get a lot of dry days. So it's a good mix. So, with those plants, I think the humidity definitely helps when it's more humid weather and more rainy days are here. And of course they would need to be checked probably more than every 4 weeks when it's the drier spells. Speaking of which, that brings me to tip 2. So tip 2 is I usually set aside 1 day a week that I try to go around and check them. So it's usually Fridays. Sometimes of the year, it is Wednesdays. So on either Wednesdays or Fridays, depending on whether it's winter or summer, I will go around and check them once a week if I remember. I don't always remember. Actually, I always remember. I just don't always have time. But it's one of those things I always schedule in regularly in my day planner once a week to check them. And if I get to them, yay. If not, oh well, there's always next week. Once again, choosing easy plants that can tolerate some dryness really makes a big difference. So I do have some plants that cannot tolerate any amount of dryness, and of course those would be the ferns. I have a kangaroo paw fern, I have a regular box fern, I also have a stromanth and a ficus repens. None of those seem to like to dry out at all. In fact, the ferns and the stromanth need to be spritzed generally once a day. If I don't spritz them once a day, they are not very happy. So what I actually do with that is I have my little spritzer here that I love, and I have my kids go around and spritz them. They think it's great fun. It's actually on their chore chart. So I have a chore chart system that I sell, and one of the chores that kids can have is watering plants. And so that's what I do. I and spritz the plants. For the other plants that are kind of moderate, they can handle a little bit of dryness, but not very much. So those would include my wandering Jews and my peace lily. And I think my creeping Jenny, I almost forgot that one. They do not like to dry out for very long. If they dry out for, 5 days, they start to get some brown leaves and start drooping. The wandering Jews don't droop, but their leaves will start to brown and dry out. So since I know this, I try to remember to keep a better eye on those ones. So one of the really big tips that I have is if you want a junkalo in your house, or whatever you want to call it, take your time achieving it. If you bring in 1 or 2 plants a month and get to know the plants and let the plants get accommodated to your home and learn their light requirements, learn their water requirements. That makes it a lot easier on you, and you'll learn, okay, this particular plant I definitely just want one of because it's kind of high maintenance, and this particular plant I want a few of because it's very low maintenance. So that's how I created my plant look, and I have 65 plants and counting. And so that's how I did it. I just got a couple plants a month. Some of the plants multiply like the wandering Jew. If you get one, it won't be very long before you have 20. I'm not kidding. It is one that will take over your home. It's wonderful. But again, that is one you definitely don't want if you're going to be forgetting to water. So there was one time I went to a nursery, and I had been wanting to go there for quite some time. And this brings me to another tip that I have. If you're going to be buying plants, I highly recommend that when you're buying them, you make sure that you know what they're called. Make sure that you have a little tag with the name of the plant on it. This is so you can go home and research it. You can research what it is, you can look it up, find out how often it likes to be watered, find out if it can tolerate any kind of dryness, or if it just likes to be consistently kept moist, and that will help you decide whether or not, it's a plant for you. In fact, of course, you would probably want to research before you went out. So when I went to the greenhouse, I had a list of what I wanted, and I also, if there was a plant that I saw that I loved that I just had to have, I made sure to ask the people working at the greenhouse about it. I asked them, how much light does this plant need? How much water does it need? Can it handle dryness, or can it handle low light? And that was really helpful for me in deciding which plants would be right for my home and which ones wouldn't. So I'm all about finding plants that fit your lifestyle. If a plant doesn't fit your lifestyle, it might look pretty to you, but it's only going to look pretty, until it dies because you couldn't keep up with it. So definitely look for plants that are going to fit your lifestyle. If you're not going to have time to water weekly, then you definitely want to choose plants that don't need to be watered weekly. So my final tip is the plants that need more water, they need more care and attention. This is kind of a fun one. I homeschool. I have 6 kids, and there are a lot of times during their schooling period of the day where I'm just standing there and I'm waiting for them. I can't start any big projects because it's only going to be maybe 1 minute to 2 minutes before they're going to be finished with something and they're going to need my help, or this child's going to be done, but in 1 more minute, this child over here is going to need help. So what I like to do is in those moments where I've only got 1 minute or maybe 2 minutes, I will go over and check a plant and water it. And that is definitely one of my top ways that I stay on top of the plants and just making sure, none of them get too dry. And the thing that I like about that is if I'm just sitting there waiting for the child to finish, I will get really tired. There are times where I will even feel like I need to take a nap. I'm so tired. But if I get up and run and water a plant, then I don't get tired like I would if I was just sitting there. So it's kind of got a two-win scenario when it comes to taking care of the plants during the school hours. It keeps me awake, and it keeps me from going to sleep, and it keeps my plants alive too. You guys, this has been really fun. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been helpful. And hey, I have other videos that I think you might enjoy, including a video that I did about a month ago on plants, and it is called 6 Easy Plants and 3 Hard Ones. So be sure to head to my channel, like this video if you do in fact like it, and don't forget to subscribe, and head over and check out the other videos that I have that you might be interested in, especially the other one on plants.